So I was in the middle of filming a video on installing attic stairs. We just finished clearing out the rough opening when this bad boy decided to stop making the fridge side cold. Freezer side, though packed, is ice cold. Fridge side is just kind of cold. And I've been through this before with this fridge, and usually it's take the freezer apart and you find the evaporator, which is behind a panel behind all that stuff, is caked with ice. Now that could be caused by a couple of things, and this all started when this door was left ajar for a couple of hours. It was left about like that. Found a lot of water on the inside, condensation, and I'm pretty sure there's a problem with this refrigerator's defrost assembly. And the way that works is there's a computer that periodically will send current through a heating element that's just below the evaporator coil, and that'll melt all the ice off. Now, could be a bad heating element, could be a bad bimetal thermostat, could be a bad thermistor, could be a couple of things. So first off, I got to empty the freezer into some coolers and start taking things apart and see what's going on. To further illustrate, notice the freezer is about 7 degrees. At least that meat is 6. The fridge side, the beer is 50 degrees. So big difference. And this is a Kenmore fridge. It's a model 106-565-42400. It's actually a Whirlpool though. They're not fooling anybody. Alright, I'm gonna empty this out. Won't bore you with all that. Got the whole freezer packed into coolers, and this will give you a better idea of what the problem is. Now, all the business end of most refrigerators is behind a panel, behind all these shelves. You'll see that there's an evaporator coil back there. We're going to have to take all that stuff apart. But you can kind of see part of the problem right there. You see all that ice? That shouldn't be there. Let's get these shelves out, and we'll take that back panel off. I can see the ice is already starting to melt just from having the door open. Can't tell you how many times I've done this. This time I'm just going to fix it. Again, this shouldn't be happening. The fridge is in good shape. There's almost definitely a problem with this thing's defrost cycle. As I recall, this light bulb has to come out. It's probably nice and hot too. Let me get a rag or something to grip it with. I feel like burning myself this early in the morning. Got the bulb. Put her there. So you guys can see all this. I'm gonna pop that cover off. Looks like there's some ice holding it on. There's that panel there. Sorry. Let's see what we see. See a fan. I miss a screw somewhere? Let's take a look. Okay, got the panel out. Ow, damn it. Just caught my shoulder on the tray of the beer keg. It's not as tragic as I've seen it in the past, so we'll just hit that with a heat gun and defrost it. I'm gonna hit it with my trusty heat gun here. Kill some of that ice. Won't bore you with this process. Probably unplug it, make it go faster. The fridge unplugged, and I'm hitting it with the heat gun now. And one of the reasons why this problem occurs is because all that ice blocks the airflow over the coil. And what happens a lot with this fridge is that all that water will actually freeze in that pan and cause a clog. It's pretty hot. This heat gun's freaking amazing if you guys ever need one. Now some of these Kenmores have a mode, or I guess some of the Whirlpools I should say, have a mode where you can test the defrost cycle. I don't know if this one has that mode or not. We'll give it a try. See that coil down there, that black. Let's see, let me get you closer. That thing right there, that black wire thing, it looks like a heating element from a toaster. That's actually what will keep this coil from icing up, but obviously that's not working, so we're going to figure out what's broken. So it could be that coil is defective. There is a bimetal temperature cutoff switch up here that's kind of strapped onto that tube. That could be bad. Could be a thermostat, I'm sorry, a thermistor, temperature sensor, or it could be the control board. So we're going to see if we can figure out what's going on here. Got all the ice off the coil, and I'm sure it'll start to form again quickly if I don't shut this door. So let's start testing these components. Well, actually, let me see if this thing has that that force defrost mode. I think you have to press this switch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's supposed to beep. Didn't hear any beeps. So maybe this doesn't have it. Let's try this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Not hearing anything. All right, let's start testing components. So the way that switch right there works, that switch will stay closed, or it'll conduct electricity when the coil is cold, and it opens up when it warms up. So that's designed to prevent the coil from getting too hot when it's in defrost mode. However, if that fails, then there will never be any current that goes through the coil, and we'll have this condition. Another possibility is the actual heating element itself is bad, and that looks like it's going to be loads of fun to replace, because that's pretty well engaged in the coil. So we'll check the continuity of that switch right there. We'll check the continuity of the coil, and we'll go from there. Got the leads to the heating element hooked up to the multimeter, and as you can see, we have about 23 ohms. So that tells me that the heating element is probably good. We don't have an open circuit, which is good, because that looks like it's lots of fun to replace. So that narrows things down to the thermistor and also that cutoff switch right there. So I think what we need to do now is we'll probably plug the heating element back in. We'll let the freezer get nice and cold, and then we'll check the continuity. Actually, no, yeah, because that switch has to be real cold, and I'd have to cut the wiring to test this, and I don't really feel like doing that. I might be able to back probe it though. Maybe. We'll give it a shot. But bottom line is we want to make sure that that cutoff switch right there passes current when it's cold in the fridge. And there should be a rating on here. Let's see. Snap it off and take a look at it. .415 2C. I'll have to look up what that one is. Doesn't look visibly damaged. Anyway, let's plug it back in. Let's get it nice and cold in here, and then we'll see where that leads us. Hopefully it's just this switch, though. I don't really feel like replacing the control board. I've allowed the fridge to run for a while, and I'm back probing that cutoff switch right there, that bimetal thermostat. And It should be pretty cold by now. You can see that pipe is, or I guess that's nice and iced over right there, that tubing coming from the evaporator. But notice that that's essentially an open circuit. That's 19 mega ohms. So there's very, very high resistance there. So if we're up to temperature and that thing should be open, it ain't. I'm sorry, it should be closed, it ain't. So again, when that's cold, when that coil is cold, that should close the circuit and allow current to flow through the heating elements when the computer calls for it. But that's not what we're seeing. So I think we have a bad bimetal thermostat. And that's about an $8 part, folks. So if you have a refrigerator or freezer that has a similar symptom, you might get away with just replacing that little tiny part there. It could be an easy fix. I'm gonna go on Amazon and see if I can find that part, and hopefully I can get one here tomorrow. All right, so I cut out that that bimetal thermostat, that cutoff switch. I stuck it in my other freezer. I'm gonna let it sit there for a while just to make sure it is actually bad. Also gonna order another one. They're only 10 bucks. I can have one here tomorrow. And if you look on the computer, seems like it's a pretty common problem. That's what it looks like there. So it's what, 10 bucks, 10.47. And I found this by going to I think Sears Parts Direct, because it's a Kenmore / Whirlpool. Looked it up, and this is the part number, a replacement for that part number. So add to cart. Not added. There was a problem with your cart. Come on, Amazon. Get your crap together. Add to cart. There we go. Let's check out. All right, so we'll pick it up when this part comes in, or actually when we test the other the thermostats in the freezer. Got everything sort of put back together, at least enough until that new bimetal thermostat arrives. I just kind of capped off the wiring. Just kind of drying things up a little bit in here. We should have much better airflow to the fridge now. Let's take a look. Yeah, it's quite a bit better. So we'll let that run. And let's go check our switch. I'm sorry, the bimetal thermostat or cutoff switch. So many freaking names. So I've tested this bimetal thermostat a couple of times and it's erratic. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Right now it's working. But I put it through a couple of cycles and sometimes it doesn't. I'll demonstrate normal operation. So right now it's cold, so it has continuity. And we put it under some water. If you're watching the meter, it should, yep, just clicked. So that's what it should do. And again, sometimes it's doing it and sometimes it's not. It's really strange. So again, we have the part on order and we'll hopefully that fixes the problem. If this doesn't fix the problem, I'm not really willing to put any more money into this fridge than it'll cost for this, because the only other thing it could be is a control board, and the control board's about 200 bucks. I'm not putting 200 bucks into a 14-year-old fridge. That seems kind of silly. So pick it up when the part arrives. So Amazon just dropped off this new defrost thermostat right here. This is one of those bimetal switches. This particular one opens at 48 and closes at 15 Fahrenheit. I was also able to find these service instructions online. There was nothing attached to this fridge when I got it, but I think I'm the third or fourth owner. It's been kind of a hand-me-down fridge. Been a workhorse, but again, these are the service instructions. They have all the parts and common replace parts and whatnot, and they also have a diagnostic procedure that you can run through that I'll walk you guys through later, that you can actually use to test the defrost thermostat and the heater, and also the control wiring in the board that controls it. So let's shut the fridge off and wire this thing up. Okay, got the back of the fridge off. First step is to prep the ends. Just strip back enough wire where you can twist things. So maybe about that much or so. And again, power should be off, unplugged. All you're going to do is connect these wires to those. It doesn't really matter which wire. So first, I like to twist them together. I apologize, this is a little dark. Oh boy, and a little cramped. So I'll twist them like that. Like so. Take your wire nut. Wire nut them together. Like so. Same thing with the other wire. Like so. Just like that. Okay, so we got both wires wire nutted on, and this should just clip on to this copper coil right there, the evaporator coil. Just like so. Make sure everything stays out of the way. And that's pretty much the repair. So what we'll have to do is we'll have to get this good and cold, then we'll test the defrost heater. Let's plug it back in. Get things nice and cold again. Yep. Just like that. And we'll pick it up when it's cold. So to kind of brief you guys on this service procedure, the instruction sheet for this one is a 226147 REL. This covers quite a few models. Covers Kenmore, KitchenAid, Whirlpools. But the long and the short of it is, to put this refrigerator and freezer into service mode, you hold down the on button and the water filter reset light for approximately 3 seconds. And then what it'll do is it'll start on step 1. It'll test the freezer thermistor, and it'll use the water filter indicator to indicate if that sensor passes or fails. So if it shows green, it passes. If it shows red, it fails. Same thing with the refrigerator side thermistor. There's one on each side. So again, green for good, red for bad. It'll then run the evaporator fan mode, and to get through each one of these, you just hold down the water filter reset until it cycles on to the next mode. So again, mode 1, mode 2, mode 3 is the evaporator fan motor. You'll hear that come on in the freezer if it's running. Mode 4 is the compressor and condenser fan. You'll hear that kick on if that's running. Number 5 is the air baffle, which controls the amount of air that flows from the freezer to the refrigerator. Sometimes these things fail. I think there's like some kind of plastic part in there that fails pretty frequently. I checked this one here. It's wide open, so I think we're okay there. And you can actually see it moving, opening and closing, if you unhook it from the freezer side and pull it out the fridge side. And the last step, which is the one that we're interested in, is the defrost heater and the bimetal thermostat, that thermostat that we just replaced. Now, with this service procedure, you got to be careful, because if that bimetal thermostat is not cold enough, this test will fail. And I think they allude to that in the instructions here. So you either have to bypass that bimetal switch, or by cutting the wire and wire nutting them together as I had done, or you need to wait for the sensor to get cold enough. And I believe that this one I think is 15 degrees Fahrenheit. And then once you're done, you just hold down the water filter reset and the fridge comes out of service mode, and that's it. Now, once we get to step 6, to check whether or not this works, we're gonna feel if we feel any heat coming off that defrost heater that goes down the bottom of the coil and up the sides. If we do, then we know it's working. Pretty simple. Okay, I let it run for a while, and you can see that there's frost forming on the coil, and it's nice and cold. It's 5 degrees down there, but I think because the cabinet is because we don't have air here going over that sensor, cold air, it's not going to get much colder than it is right now. So I'm going to put the baffle back on. We could still test to see if that defrost heater works by simply listening for water dripping onto it and sizzling. That's another way you can test. So if we put it into mode 6, and we hear water sizzling when we turn on the test, then we know that it's a pass. All right, we got the evaporator cover back on and properly notched in there. Now we're going to put this baffle back on. This is what redirects air either into the freezer or into the refrigerator. There's the freezer side thermistor right there that we spoke about before. And that blend door, which we also discussed, is back there, and it clips out on behind that panel. Excuse me, hiccups. So we're gonna go ahead and put this back in and fire. The fridge and freezer have been running for a while, and the internal freezer temp is in the 30s right now. So let's try this diagnostic procedure and see what happens. So we're gonna press and hold on and off in the filter reset for 3 seconds, and we're gonna hold down filter reset till we get to number 6. So do on off for 3. Now we're on step 1. Go to step 2. Step 3, which is the evaporator fan motor, which is running. Compressor, fan motor. That's the air baffle motor, and this last one should be the defrost heater. Let's see if we hear anything. Guys probably can't hear it in the video, but I can hear some sizzling going on down there. You hear it? Get you a little closer. That's an indication that your defrost heater is working just fine. You got that condensation coming off, and you hear that sizzling. You can actually see a little bit of sizzling on that heating element. So the defrost elements of this fridge are now good. Let's put it back together. Got everything all repacked in the freezer. It's running. Fridge is running, still warm though. We'll see what it looks like tomorrow morning. So it's 60 now, but it's been off for a while. Hopefully the beer doesn't spoil. Anyway, hopefully this video helps you. If you like what you see, please subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video. Take care.